Hello and welcome. Greg Smith, Admin's The Answer, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Charles McArthur from Charles McArthur Coaching and Consulting. Hi, Charles, and welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Thanks for the invitation to come.
You're very welcome, and from now on, you're Charlie because we know each other more than just this interview. Charles has an intriguing business and one that is certainly from a media perspective. When we talk mental health, it's out there, it's out and about, and I thought we'd bring Charlie into the interview today to really get down to the nuts and bolts of what we talk about with mental health. It does get some space in the media, but who better to learn from someone who's in it every day, because that's his business. Charlie, let's take you back. How did you get started in managing, and it's predominantly men's, mental health?
Well, yeah, predominantly. I mean, look, my background is five-star hotels. Actually worked in hospitality for many a year and ended up as a rooms division manager, looking after a team of, over 100 staff. But it was a period when I was working in sales, and I had the opportunity to learn NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, which really sent me in a new direction. But it was only 3 years ago when I started my business, which is essentially a coaching business, Greg. Mm-hmm. And so really, I like to give, practical tools that, make a difference to people pretty quickly. And just because the thinking's good or bad, depending on the meaning that you give it. So to some degree, we need to learn how to drive our thinking and set ourselves up for success, as opposed to, how should I say? If you look for the dirt, you'll find it often. But we just need to be able to, have some tools. And I think it's tools often which is just lacking for a lot of guys. But yeah, how did I get started 3 years ago? Well, I left hospitality. I had sort of an epiphany one day at work after I started a mentoring program within the hotel that I was working at. And I was spending more and more time sort of mentoring, staff from other departments. And I remember one day a guy was, we're having a session. We'd gone over time. We realized, and he scooted out of my office to get to work. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, that's probably the most enjoyable hour I've had in the last year. And just to see a guy who's taken on what you're providing and just kicking goals, it was great to see. So, and I remember that quote from Steve Jobs that pretty much said, if you haven't found that thing yet that makes work not work, keep searching for it, because keep looking. Matters of the heart, they're worth chasing. And that's the day I sort of went, you know what, I'm gonna get into coaching.
Very cool. Very cool. And off you went.
Off I went, yeah.
So if we were going to talk about some of the key things or the core activities that you help sort out with men, either from their personal or their business, how would we list them, Charlie?
Look, I think probably the most common behaviour, that I think so many guys need to get on top of is that whole dealing with anger thing. Mm-hmm. So many people go unresourceful, they lose control, whether it's, verbally and obviously in some cases physically. Look, it's a mechanism of thinking that's really what's created it. So I think the most common thing is really anger. Yep. I deal with a lot of guys that are going through separation, having just split with their partner, and might have been together for 20 years and might have come with, new news on Saturday. They didn't see it coming, and they're left sitting there with their heads spinning, wondering what the hell's going to happen. And a lot of the time, these guys just need to sort of be led in the right direction, and how to think about what's happened in a way that works for them, and not getting into the habit of negative self-talk or talking yourself down, because the words that come out of your mouth is the program that your brain's going to run. Yeah. So if you are sitting there saying, I'm no good and I'm not that smart and I could never do that, I mean, these are statements that share what your limiting beliefs are, and we've got to have an awareness about them. So and we've got to stop talking like that. Yeah. It just almost cements in that belief and makes it stronger every time you say it.
It's certainly not a roadmap to a solution, is it?
No, well, not really. So separation. I've got guys that get a lot of anxiety. That's a common one. On the flip side of that, there's guys that have had it for a while and are depressed. Yeah. There's lots of cases out there in the world with ADHD or PTSD, or blokes that are trying to deal with narcissistic behaviour of their partner as well. And it's really a case of the guys that I sort of help are the ones that, look, I don't know where to go now. So people often say to me, what do you do? And I say, well, I help blokes going through dark or difficult or challenging times.
And Charlie, what does that help look like?
That help, well, look, a couple of ways. I mean, a lot of the ways I spend a lot of my time is actually in live chat sessions. Like most evenings, I track my business through advertising, through Facebook. But it poses a question. The one I've got running at the moment is like, learn how to stay calm, stay cool, and stay control in any situation. And it says, chat now. And people will, and here's the good thing with blokes, we're quite willing to click that button and a chat opens. And my first question's automated. It says, so Greg, you're going through a bit of a rough time at the moment. We're going through a bit of a rough patch. And the blokes will go, yes. And then I'll come in as me at that point and go, well, Greg, I'm sorry to hear about that. So what's the nature of your rough patch? Oh, mate, the separation, or I'm dealing with this, or I'm dealing with that.
Sure.
And, for the first 5 or 10 minutes, it's just acknowledgement, I think, of the issue for a lot of the time.
Yep.
It's important, I think, to say, hey, well done for pushing the button. And taking some action, and I share links a lot of the time to videos that I've done that work through issues like anger. Maybe it's just a chat, but to put it this way, I mean, I'm a coach, so I've got a coaching business, but out of, let's say, probably, I don't know, 50 or 60 chats that start, maybe one may go through and end up joining one of my programs.
Right. But
in between that, there's a lot of guys that get assistance, and just to have an opportunity to chat about some of their challenges makes a big difference.
Yeah, awesome. Now, clicking a button, I agree, for a guy is easier than picking up the phone. I get that.
Okay.
In your experience, the biggest challenge you found for guys to either acknowledge that they need help and then certainly to take that action to reach out. What's the biggest challenge you found for them?
Look, I think, Greg, it's still stigma. Still, look, there's been massive improvement, and I think when people in the media, such as sports people, are going through tough times, it puts a reality to people that this affects everybody.
Yep.
And can affect everybody at some stage. So I think stigma. I think it's often the thought that it's got to that point. And maybe there's some still people that feel embarrassed about the fact that things are not quite right in my thinking. Yep. A good sign. And one thing people should take home, if you've got an awareness that you're not thinking right, that's a good sign. Okay, it's a sign that, hey, let's go off to the, it's like if you had a pain in your stomach.
Yeah, it's actually a positive thing.
It's a good sign because it means that the mechanisms are working. So let's listen to them. And it could be one little thing that gets everything going.
Yep, cool. We talked about anxiety. You mentioned anxiety, and certainly when I had my trades business and now the business that we're in, I see and hear of it. Owning a trades business can be a lonely place at times, and you're out there on your own sometimes for 8 hours talking to yourself. Yeah, and talking to yourself gets boring occasionally. What's your overall take on anxiety?
Okay, and great question, Greg. For me, anxiety is, if you like, the way and this is really coming from my background in hypnosis, but for me, this is a process that goes on in your unconscious mind, which is a good process at some point, but after the impending event that you first got worried about is dealt with, for a lot of people, that mechanism keeps spinning. Yeah, so anxiety is really well, for a start, it only affects the future, right?
Yep.
You don't get anxiety about the past. It's always an impending event, which is coming closer and closer and closer, right? Once that event becomes a past event, you'll go and find a new event sometime in the future to stress about.
Gotcha.
And then that will go closer and closer and closer and closer. So, and then you'll set a new one. All right. So time is a factor with anxiety, whether it's past, future, or present. So if, think about it this way. Let's just say you had a family. The father was a banker, and the family moved around. And they've got a 14-year-old daughter. And the father comes in one night and says, well, family, I've just heard there might be promotion opportunity coming up, and in a week we'll find out if we're going to move to this city.
Mm-hmm.
And the 13-year-old girl says, oh my God, here we go again.
It's the last thing I want to hear,
Right,
Dad.
I've just made friends here. Now, thanks, Dad. You're going to move me out. And I'm going to be the odd kid again. I am so sick of this.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I hate it. And I hate the fact my dad's a banker. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for a week, what happens is this girl starts to think, this new place, it's going to be so crap.
Yeah.
The people are going to be nasty. There's going to be no facilities there. And she starts thinking, this is a natural process, right? She starts thinking it down. And then what happens is a week later, the father comes in and says, well, family, I got the job. We're going to move. And so the 13-year-old goes, oh my God, again, you know, right? Now, here's the thing. When they go to the new town, they find that the people are really friendly and the facilities are really good. Are you there, Greg?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you're not moving on the screen, so I wasn't sure.
No,
so
I'm still and intrigued.
Okay, so they go to the new town and they find that the people are friendly and the facilities are great. And it's a pretty cool little town, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like the conscious and the unconscious, right? So here's the thing. It's a surprise. It's a nice surprise because she's thought it down. It's going to be bad, right? She imagined it as worst case scenario. When the event actually happened, it was, oh, that's good. So it's like your unconscious mind goes, I got you prepared, hey?
Yeah.
Did you like that? Did you like
Gotcha.
that? So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep doing that to everything now. Whether it's the Christmas party next week or whether it's when that bill's due, I'll keep getting you prepared. And this process that for the move to the town, that was appropriate. That was good early anxiety, you know, some level of anxiety, then move in town.
Yep.
But the problem is that this keeps happening. And it's like it's unconscious. So you're not aware of it. And all of a sudden you see this future event. And as it gets closer and closer to you, once it goes past, we'll create a new one. So that's the process that's going on. So for me, it's, you know, this hypnotherapy could be really effective with that.
So are you looking to change that process, Charlie, or help said person manage it better? Yeah,
absolutely. What we want them to be able to come up with is the situations where we want this process. This is a good process to have in our life dealing with, you know, toolbox, you know, coping mechanisms. But we don't want to overuse this mechanism when it's not appropriate. And a Christmas party coming up next month, to blow it out of proportion and think you're going to fall over or get drunk or say the wrong thing to the boss and have people look at you and someone might make fun of you and it's too much, I can't deal with it. Because they're blowing it out of proportion. And so what I would say is, look, save those incidents for the game-changing events, not the everyday events.
Yeah, cool. Where does fear fall into this, Charlie? Is it directly related? Is it part of your psyche that fear takes you to a place, an unrealized place, when you're thinking about, you know, moving town and fearful of the unknown, fearful of the neighbours, fearful of having to make friends again? Is a fear a related emotion in that whole anxiety conversation?
Oh, look, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, again, it's and this is going to vary for everybody, because some people get anxiety about the fact that I don't know what to wear. Right. Other people will be getting anxiety that something terrible is going to happen to them. You know, so it's different for everybody, but you know, you need often it's fear that will get you to take action. You know, if the heat's too much.
True story.
So look, it's sometimes the carrot or sometimes the stick. Look, it's about knowing where you are on that motivation line. And where is there more power? Because, you know, imagine if you push off from being a cigarette smoker and you make good progress over 2 or 3 weeks, but your momentum sort of stops in that middle there. You're not really not a non-smoker, but you're not really a non-smoker yet. At some point, you got to turn around from what you're trying to get away from and focus on what it is that you're trying to move towards. And at first, it's a push away. I think with any change, it's a push away. Then we need to flip and start moving towards.
I'm hearing you. You mentioned NLP and hypnosis, and as the pure layman, The only hypnosis I know are those crazy shows on TV where
Martin St. James or something like that.
yes, and we get to act like a busted chicken.
And we get a lemon, like a raw lemon, and just bite into it like an apple.
Exactly.
Crazy.
And clearly, that's not what you do. Tell me about hypnosis, what it is, and how it works.
Okay. Well, what you're referring to is stage hypnotherapy.
Right.
And you're probably in that situation. You're looking at probably the final 10 people out of 30 that they've gone through before the show to see who is going to follow directions under trance. But anyway, what do I do with hypnotherapy? Like, if you've most common thing for hypnotherapy is probably stop smoking programs.
Okay.
Next one would be weight loss, and the next one would be stress.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you'd have things like, you know, need to get more confident and what have you. But those three are probably 90% of the hypnotherapy work. Yep.
Gotcha.
So what happens in a session? What we're actually trying to do is, you know, someone comes in, they're here for a session. You've got an understanding from your talk before what they're, and let's just say it's smoking because it's something that everyone can probably have some sort of understanding of.
Yep.
So again, it's a unalignment between your conscious and your unconscious. Consciously, you know, it's bad for your health. It's bloody expensive in this country. Makes you stink. Your car stink. Your house stink. And your missus unhappy.
Yep.
Right. Unconsciously is where the part that likes to smoke is.
Mm-hmm.
And so what hypnosis does, it sort of lines up the conscious with the unconscious, so we're all on the same page. So what happens is someone would come in, they'd sit down in the chair, sit back and relax. I would get them looking at a breathing app just for the first 5 minutes, just while I get ready at my desk doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, while they just do some breathing, because we want to get people in a relax. So you get in a nice comfy chair.
Yep.
And then, you know, essentially you ask the person to take a nice deep breath in and just relax as they sit there and listen to the sound of my voice as we relax further and further. And so what we're doing is we're sinking down into a really relaxed state. And we're trying to get down to that level just below, sort of just above that spot where you fall asleep.
Right.
The very deep trance. So as you're sitting there really relaxed, you know, you'll hear my voice. Right. And so I'm, you know, sitting there talking, saying things like relax your legs, and I'll move through different parts of your body, and would probably spend maybe 10 to 15 minutes just going to that really deep relaxed state. And once we're there, that's when you start with the suggestions. And so, you know, we say, well, you know, thanks for your unconscious mind and the part of you that's created the desire to smoke, and you've done it well. You know, you talk to the unconscious like it's another person. You know, you're the part responsible for Greg smoking. You've done it well. There's times when he wanted to quit, but you kept going through, right? And the work you do is great. What we want to do is work out another way to achieve what it is that you think it's doing. Because here's the deal: smoking's really bad, and you'll sell them the concept that we still need your help, but we need your help in a different way now because he's at this age and he's coughing, and it's better for him. Because if something happens to Greg, it's going to happen to you too, as his unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so we ask them to consider the suggestions, and then slowly we bring them back up from that very deep, relaxed state, back up to, you know, conscious of where you are and the voice and the room you're in and the traffic outside. And now 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, open your eyes. That's really cutting it short, but that's essentially the process. And so when the person goes out, you know, you've basically set new neural pathways in the brain. Thinking patterns, which we're now going to use those instead of the old ones. And that's why I think good hypnotherapy for anything, we'll do 4 or 5 sessions.
Okay.
Because you want to keep going back over those same neural pathways. So that in 6 months' time, when you go downstairs outside work and you bump into your old smoking buddy and you've had a bad day, and he says, "Oh, mate, don't worry about it. Come and have a ciggy, mate." You're like, "No, I'm a non-smoker." Because that's a well-worn pathway in your thinking due to the hypnosis that you've done. So look, it can solve so many things.
I'm completely intrigued. Completely intrigued. I just love it. I just love it.
Oh, mate, there's the guy the other night, late, right?
It
was where is he from? From Pakistan. 23-year-old, works in oil and gas. And when I got him on because what I try and do is get people on a call, get on a Zoom call or something like that. right? Because then, you know, they can see me communicate. They've got a better understanding about what I'm talking about. I can see where they're at as well. It's so much better if I can get them on Zoom.
Yeah.
And then I can help them better. But this guy was almost under his doona and sort of, you know.
Wow.
Right. And it turns out that this guy had a panic attack maybe 6 years ago. He's been on medication since then. And the panic attack was about what would happen if he lost his job. Wow. Right. Now, since then, he's become an Aussie. He's got citizenship. And for him, it was sitting there talking to him going, well, I suppose if you're ever going to lose your job anywhere in the world, where would you like to be living if that was to happen? Well, here was the answer. And I said, yeah, it'd be hard in the Ivory Coast, wouldn't it, in Africa or Bangladesh? It wouldn't be such a sound landing.
Yep. And
with that realization that I'm now an Australian, what was I stressing about on that day? Because it was having the conscious awareness that, mate, if you lost your job tomorrow, guess what? Your world's not going to end. Yep. Why? Because you answered some questions about Australia's history and got to know the language, and you've applied to come here and you've migrated here. Yep. So you made it. Dude, you're safe.
Yeah. Tick a box.
Right. And he's like, yeah, this guy literally almost got out of his bed, right, and started getting ready for the next day because he was getting stressed about the idea of going to work.
Yeah.
Because his boss is around his skill level, but he got the gig.
Right.
You know, and so now he's sort of stepping back from it. And this just happened one day, and it was from reading a book.
Wow.
I was reading a book, panic attack happened. So many guys have dealt with something like that.
It happens so quickly sometimes. So I was going to ask how the meetings are held. So we're certainly face-to-face when and if available, but certainly online. So it doesn't matter where you are.
Look, it really doesn't. I mean, put it this way, I'm on the Gold Coast, and if I get people that are on the Gold Coast, I say, let's catch up for coffee.
Yeah, cool.
You know, I'm happy to drive down to Burleigh from Labrador or what have you. You know, there's no drama there. But the beauty of modern technology is that we can talk like this. And it's, you know, I mean, I've got a coaching program, Greg, which is a 6-month or a 12-month program.
Yeah.
You know, depending whether you want to do a short course to pull yourself out of the hole or a longer course if you want to really go through some sort of transformation. But content's delivered online. I do weekly Q&A meetings for my members. Spend a lot of time on the chat. So it's pretty simple in that regard.
Yep.
But yeah,
and,
so I mean,
and as you said, it's very situation and people dependent, because we're all in a different space in our lives.
Totally.
Yeah. When we've spoken before, Charlie, we've talked about values. Like to talk for you to talk to the audience about what you mean by values and how do they help.
Yeah. Okay. And thanks for that question, Greg, as well. When I talk about values, I'm talking about what's important to you. Okay. So anything that you put time, money, and energy into is a value. Right? You might have a hobby of being a motocross rider on the weekends. That's important to you. That's one of your values. Sex is a value. Money is a value. But so are things like honesty, appreciation, companionship, connection, recognition. You know, you could Google a list of values and find a list with about say 50 or 60 different words. If you went through and highlighted, say 15, it just jumped off the page. Yep. And then I said, okay, Greg, I want you to narrow that list of 15 down to 10 now. You've got your final 10. These are all important for you. And I say, now what I want you to do is I want you to put these in order from 1 to 10. And you sit there and you go, ooh. Because these are all important. These are
what's most
like honesty
important,
and you know, and loyalty, and so you're looking at your list of 10, which inevitably is different to another person's list of 10.
Sure.
And then you sit there and you need to put it in order, and you consciously do that. What I often do then is come in with a series of questions about your list. Takes a little while, but I sort of keep score.
Yep.
And what we do is we actually work out what your unconscious order is.
Okay.
Or how shall I say another way? Your true order.
Right.
Because what you're consciously telling yourself is just what you're conscious of. So your unconscious is where it's all ordered up. Now, why are values important? Wouldn't it be nice if you knew the 1 to 10 and what the order was?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Wouldn't it be nice? And that of your partner.
Oh, that'd be doubly nice.
So when it comes down to whether whether it is companionship or fun or what, some of them are going to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can make a decision that respects your order,
mm-hmm.
that's the best decision you can ever make, because it's in line with your values.
Yep.
And so it's when you make a decision that violates that order is when you have those, damn it.
Yep.
I knew that. I just had it, because you had it in your gut feeling, right? That shouldn't do it. Because one of your values is being violated.
Yeah.
You've chosen number 4, but you forgot about number 2,
mm-hmm.
which says to your number 2 value.
Yep.
And it stirs you up inside, right?
Yes.
So having an understanding of values can give you great clarity and make decision making much easier.
And there's no wrong order, Charlie.
How can there be?
Because it's your order.
It's your order.
Yeah. So the audience doesn't need to think that you've got a secret list of 10 in your little black book and going, yeah, he better have it in this order or he's in trouble.
I was gonna do give an example today, and I thought, let's just say values come up. Like say your list was only 4,
mm-hmm.
and 4 of those values were, let's just say it was family's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's important.
Yep.
Your motocross time, because it's your hobby. Time with mates.
Yep.
You don't ask for as much time as you used to with mates, but it's still important that makes time happen. And then you've got sex.
Yep.
4 values. What's the order of those?
Mm.
And someone might go, well, sex.
Depends what time of day it is, Charlie.
Well, here's the thing. All values are context dependent.
Yep.
So if I did the values, if I looked at your values in the context of your work, we're going to get, discipline, and you're going to get different set of values than you would for the values for your relationship or your marriage.
Yes.
There'll be some items similar,
mm-hmm.
but there'll be some items that are not even on each other's list.
Yep.
So again, knowing the context and the order in each context provides great clarity.
Yeah, awesome. There's a coaching program that I'm aware of that you run called Change Thinking 2020, Charlie. Tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, essentially what's different about this is that I've got hypnotic inductions in the program at the start of each module, which sets you up for the content that comes in that module. So basically, the Change Thinking program, you can either do a starter program, which is 4 to 6 months,
mm-hmm.
Or the full program, which is probably up to 12 months of support.
Okay.
If you really want to sort things out and understand how you're wired up, grow the flexibility to be a better communicator, better listener, and really drive yourself where you should be, on a pathway to your potential, let's probably say. But look, content's delivered online, so you can do it from home.
Cool.
And then every Wednesday I do a live Q&A, so people can call up and go, Charlie, I'm on module 3, lesson 5. What do you mean by blah, blah, blah? And I'll say, okay, great question. Everybody else listening, here's what this question's. And so they get an idea of what's coming.
Yeah, cool.
Do you know what I mean? Then there's a Facebook user group, but I'm essentially there teaming up with people on the Change Thinking program as their coach to, hold people to account, make sure they're taking action and moving forward. Yeah.
This is so much different to what someone who's never reached out, and we're going to talk to the audience about how to reach out in a second. But the scenario of lying back on a couch with the psych there with their notepad asking questions, it's nothing like this. Like you've just heard from Charlie, you're sitting there on your home couch with your home computer going through an online program. Like it's completely different to what people may think it is. Yeah. And we need to smash that apart.
Most of the lessons I've just done, created myself with my own IT skills. It's not, it's not TV quality sort of stuff, but often it can be a PowerPoint and me talking through the PowerPoint.
Sure.
But showing you concepts, showing you ideas, things that you should just be aware of, like the relationship between your mind and your body.
Yeah.
And I use metaphors, Greg, sometimes work really well. It's like a Chinese restaurant where you've got the big spinning table.
Mm-hmm.
That's your mind and your body, right?
Yeah,
and if you want what's on the other side of the table, you got to spin it around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was in front of you heads off, and what's coming around comes around.
Yeah, cool.
And that's the mind. If you want one to change the other.
Yep.
It's just nice to know that.
I'm hearing you. Hopefully, we've squashed some misnomers about NLP and hypnosis. And no, you won't be lying on a couch telling us your life story. We want to know the life story, but it's a lot easier than that.
I tell you what, one of the big things I do with guys is to say, look, wherever you're at now, I really don't care why. Because if you want to answer that question, you're going to have to take me on a journey into the past.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that still doesn't mean we're moving forward yet. And we could spend the next 3 weeks talking about your past. From an NLP perspective, we would go, okay, I respect the fact that you are where you are. What's preventing you getting what you want?
Mm-hmm.
And now your focus has got to go to the future.
Mm.
And you say, well, I really want that, but I can't get that because of this. Okay, let's go again. What's preventing you sorting that? Oh, because I haven't got the money. So what's preventing you getting the money?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't got the skills. So what's preventing you getting the skills? Well, I haven't got time. What's preventing you making time? I'm getting them into a corner now.
Yes.
Right.
There's an answer coming soon.
Well, I've got to sit down with my wife in our diaries. Okay. So what's going to prevent you sitting down with your wife in your diaries and finding 2 hours a week?
Mm.
Nothing. Fantastic. Well, now we've got an action step that we can take in the direction of where you want.
Yeah.
You know, so we want to make people take action, be responsible for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cool.
Not go back in to give me a story.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but we haven't got time, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about the next minute and beyond. Yeah. How should a guy out there starting if he's feeling overwhelmed? What's the best way to get into contact, Charlie?
Look, I think just go to my website, which is charlesmacarthur.com.
And we'll put those links in the bottom of this chat too.
Yeah, from there, look, you can click straight on my number and give me a call. Just give me a call. It's probably the first. I'm not on the phone 24 hours a day. Yeah. So I am a lot, but I'll call you back. You know, just start the ball rolling.
Yeah, cool.
And take it from there and see where it goes and keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind. Yeah. And I think one important factor is they're not alone. And often what they feel like they're going through, they may feel like no one else is, which is completely incorrect. And sit the Aussie male ego in the garbage bin. And because often I would suggest that holds some guys back about making a call or clicking on a chat button.
Yeah, no one needs to know.
Okay? No one needs to know. But they might find once they've been through a program and they come out a different person, they'll start telling others themselves.
Oh, exactly. You know, look, and I've really only been, you know, I went into coaching 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. This program sort of launched it about 1.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's really just starting to gain some momentum now, as well as you know, more people are going through it, and sort of getting the change that they're looking for. And the other thing is, Greg, I mean, I'm so confident about this. I say to people, you know, whether you do it paying it in full or whether you pay it in installments, take 30 days, money, no questions asked, money back guaranteed. Like, if I'll set the reminder for you if you want, because at 28 days I'll go, okay, we're 28 days in, right? Have you been getting your money's worth? Is this, like, let's talk about it right now, because if you're not, you tell me, I'll send you $250 back or whatever it was, the deposit, right?
Yeah.
No questions asked, because my methods are not going to work for everybody. Sometimes I'm a bit blunt for some people, right? So, if that ends up being the case, you have your $250, I'll turn off your membership. Yep. We're all cool. We're all back to where we started. Yep. You know, there's nothing to be gained from me to having someone disgruntled, person that's come and done my course who's not happy. Sure. 28 days enough time to check it out. Cool. Well, let's do that.
There you go, audience. It can't be any less onerous than that, I would suggest. Yeah. Mate, I could talk for the next 3 hours, and we probably will after this video anyway. But I would encourage those who are interested. There might be a couple of gold nuggets in there, audience. And if it is, then use the links below. Get in touch with Charlie. And as you said, just reach out and have a chat to begin with. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. A lot of the time, it's just a link that I'll share, Greg, as well.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Link to another video somewhere that's online there somewhere, and that might be all you need.
Can be as simple as that.
Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Listen, I always ask my guests for a final word. So unannounced, Charlie, what can we leave the audience with today?
I think that probably the most important thing, I think, is believe you can come out of the hole.
Nice.
Right? Believe it. You've got to believe it, because it's when you believe it is when you'll look and keep your eyes open for things that'll bring you out.
Nice.
But if you're not believing, you're not going to look. So believe.
Nice. I love it. I love it. There you go, audience. Believe. Reach out. Have a chat. You're certainly not alone. And Charlie, really appreciate the time.
I really
thanks
appreciate
for coming on
to speak with you. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. And we'll stay in touch.
No worries at all. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. Ciao.